Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Dubinsky. I'm the Director of Athletics for Princeton Public Schools, and I'm really glad that you're joining us this evening for our athletic registration webinar for Princeton Middle School. Joining us this evening, we have my administrative assistant, Ms. Kathy Herzog, who is located at the high school. And we also have our middle school athletic coordinator, Ms. Erin Murray. Thank you for joining us, Erin. Without further ado, I'm going to be sharing my screen, and I'm going to show everyone should be looking at a Google search screen. Is that correct, Ms. Murray? Awesome. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to take everyone through the athletic registration process from start to finish, show you how to get to the athletic website through a simple Google search so you can do it from any computer. And then we are going to go through the athletic registration process. I'll explain everything in detail. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A, and then we will also show everyone how to get these schedules that are very important, and also let you know about some other features like Notify Me on the website. So from Google, what I would simply do is search Princeton Middle School. And then from Princeton Middle School, should be the first thing up in your search. Then you go to the Activities tab, and then you hit PMS Athletics. And that takes you to the middle school landing page. And then what you want to do is hover over register for your sport. And then you'll see here, you'll see learn about athletic registration. You'll see returning user login. You'll see set up a family account, and you'll see a shortcut to print physical forms. So we're going to go to learn about athletic registration. And what you'll see is we redid this website, and this website is also used for high schoolers. And we outlined everything in steps. So in the first step, you'll read where you can print out a physical form. And when you click here, you'll be able to print these forms out. And what you will do is you will print these out. And once every 365 days, you are required to get these forms completed by your child's physician. So they will need to go to their medical home. And this is a health history form that needs to get completed on paper once every 365 days. Now, it is very common for people to leave areas on this form blank. So please do not do that. There's another video that was created that's available in the steps that will show you how to avoid not filling out this form properly. But the most common mistake is that yes answers are checked, and then yes answers are not explained in this box here. So other common mistakes is that the form is not signed by the athlete, and it's also not signed by the parent or guardian. So make sure that you do, as a parent, complete this form properly in its entirety. All right. And going back to the website, you'll see in step 1, this area is dedicated to high school students. And then in step 2, which is new this year, you'll see that there's additional forms that will need to be uploaded with the paper forms once a year for your valid physical. So you'll see that there's an asthma emergency care form, an allergy emergency care form, a seizure action plan form, and then we also provide this form in Spanish. So if your child suffers from asthma, allergy, or possibly have a seizure, please make sure you click and that you print these forms out, and that you take them to the physician so that they can be completed. And then you will have one PDF file that gets uploaded to your athletic registration account. And as we move forward, there's some reminders about what sections you don't want to miss and how to avoid getting your forms kicked back after you've uploaded them. Here's a video that explains common mistakes that you can watch at a later time. And then in step 3, you'll see where we recommend that all students who are 12 years and older register and take an impact test. Now, the FDA only approved the impact test for students who are 12 years old or older. So your child is not required to take the impact test their 6th grade year. It is strongly recommended that they do if they are 12 years old. However, they will be required to do it when they do turn 12, which I believe is technically like after fall and starting the winter sports. Is that right, Ms. Murray? We get a thumbs up and be good.
Seventh grade is
Se-
required.
Seventh grade, it's required for the winter sports, because then everyone has turned 12. And then step 4, you'll see that if you're registering your child for a sport for the first time at either the high school or middle school, we do explain in detail that you are required to only have one family account. So you should only have one family account to register your middle schooler and your high schooler. When you have multiple accounts, things get really complicated, especially in regard to passwords and registering your children. So we do explain the deadlines here. And from this page, you can select Princeton Middle School, and then that will take you to a site where you can create a new user account, where you would enter the student ID and the correct spelling of the last name. And then that will unlock your first time user account. But if you already have a child and have already used the system, you will click returning user login. And from this page, I'm going to use a fake account that I made for demo purposes. And this requires authentication. We are not allowed to accept emailed physicals. So this site is definitely, it meets the security protocols that are needed. Let me go back and see if I can get that to recapture. There it is. Okay, so this is an account that I've used for demonstration purposes, and you'll see here through the user interface that we have a registration history where you can see the registration for all of my fictitious children. And you'll see here that this child I've registered for volleyball and for cheerleading, and also for option 2 at the high school and for golf. But basically, I will add a new child to my account. So when you add a new child, it's going to take you hit the register button, and then you hit register new student, and then you select what you're registering the new student for. So we're going to go to Princeton Middle School. And then this takes you to the unlocking stage for unlocking your account for that student. This is the same page that there's a link that would take you if you're creating a new family account. So I'm going to enter the fictitious student ID. And I want to enter the last name of the demo student, which is demo. And then you'll see it pulls information over, to the account. So from this point on, I'm going to enter the first name of the student, which is already pulled from PowerSchool. The student's first name is student, the last name is demo. And then we would just fill out the other fields and start to move through the required fields that are shown with an asterisk. And as you move through this, on the second page, you'll see make your selection. We're going to register student demo for cross country. You can only register for one fall sport at a time. Underneath here, these are clubs. So these clubs do not compete against other schools, but you could register your child for basketball middle school boys fall intramurals, or basketball middle school girls fall intramurals, or the tennis middle school co-ed fall club. But I'm going to register my child for cross country. And then there's parent guardian information that is being pulled. And you will also see that there's an asterisk indicating the required fields. And then we do ask for a second parent if one is available. And then it takes you to the site where you are required to upload the completed physical forms. And we strongly recommend that you screen the physical forms for errors and mistakes. Please check the physician's assistant or the nurse assistant or the doctor's notes that they did when they completed the forms, because it's not uncommon for them to leave off a vision screening or to leave off blood pressure. So make sure that you get it right the first time, because those forms will be denied by our district physician, and you will have to re-upload all of the physical forms a second time, or drop them off the main office to the attention of Nurse Kathleen Bahunyak, or mail them to the school. But if you mail them or you drop them off and they're filled out incorrectly, then they will get sent back to you. And your child will not be able to be cleared. So you do upload the physical forms under file upload, and you do that as one complete file. So you do not use the supplemental forms. This is a requirement if your child has special accommodations that need to be separated from the form. So when you choose to upload a file, I'm just going to upload just anything right there. And then what I do is this area down here is going to be completed by our school nurse. You do not have access. She will verify the physical data on the form. So please disregard this field. This will be viewable to you if you wanted to log back into the system, but our nurse is the only person who verifies and enters the date on your physical form because it's very important. Then we click next, and then I didn't upload the file. Thought that I did. Yeah, the file is there, and we click next. Oh, it says the specific screenshot is MPEG. You can only upload PDF files. So when you do this, you have to select a PDF file. I did not realize that at the time I did this. So let me quickly grab a PDF file. And then it takes you to other medical information that is required for the primary doctor's name, then an address, then a phone number, then a preferred hospital. And these are required fields, dentist, and then you have pre-existing conditions. Any food allergies. This may seem like it's being redundant, but we definitely want to make sure if your child is allergic to bee stings or is allergic to peanuts or tree nuts. And typically an NA is required in these fields, just because we want to make sure that if you check yes, you do enter something. And then medical insurance. Policy numbers are required in case your child needs to go to the hospital and needs treatment. Dental insurance name, and then there's medication, and then there's emergency contact information. Please, fill this out properly, and then we have emergency contact information for a second person. So these fields were left empty, and then on the other field, I'll quickly go through this. These were the required fields here. I'll just, okay, and then we have, this is not a required field. Relationship field is required. Okay. So now we go to a health history questionnaire. Now, if you do register your child for a winter sport or a spring sport, you will not need to upload your physical forms again because you only are required to do that once a year as long as they're valid for 365 days. So when you do log in again, you'll see your old physical there, but that's valid, so it'll stay on file. And then you'll just give the health history update questionnaire, which is really taking your child's health into consideration for the last 90 days. Broken bones, sprained, fainted, blacked out. Make sure that you always explain yes answers. So you'll want to read this carefully and answer this accurately and explain yes answers. And then there are permissions that we require for athletics. NJSA requires a lot of these permissions, and you'll see them here. Also list, again, being redundant, but we want to be comprehensive, any known allergies or medical conditions that are pertinent, medical diagnosis or acute or chronic and current medications your child may be on. under the emergency situations. And then you will, you have to click here. You can review and read the COVID-19 waiver. We get our students on board with who's being, has to be signed off at the high school. So there's a anabolic steroid testing protocols at the high school level. Children can be tested at any time, and that usually only occurs if you qualify for a state tournament, final or semifinal. And then there's banned substances that are listed by the state. Then there's sports-related concussion and head injury that should be read, sports-related eye injury, and then sudden cardiac death in young athletes, an informative form from the state. And then there's an opioid use and misuse educational fact sheet that the state would like for us to share, and they'd also like for you to watch this video. And then our favorite, we love parents to read, is the positive sports parenting guidelines. And then you have to check the boxes that you've read those documents, and then you will be able to complete your child's medical athletic registration form. After you also confirm media coverage. Typically games are open to the public, so the press can take pictures at those, but you also are granting permission for Princeton Public Schools to take photos at practices or indoor activities. And then you've hit the final screen, you will hit next. And then you're logged in and it'll say, click the bottom to submit. So I verify my child is registered for cross country. And then the form is submitted and it goes to our school nurse at the middle school, who's Kathleen Bohuniak. And she is going to be the person that verifies the date on that form. And she'll look over everything. And if everything is status quo, then she will forward it to the doctor. So now when you log into your registration account, you could always see the status of your child's final clearance. So anytime you want to know if they've been medically cleared or get an update, you could log back in and you'll see that demo student is pending. Pending means that, again, the nurse hasn't seen it. Once the nurse reviews the documents and sees that everything was completed properly, then you will see that it will be under doctor's review. And then from doctor's review, your final clearance will be, it could be no, or it could be, and it'll get kicked back to you and you'll receive an email stating with instructions on what else you need to accomplish, and you'll have to resubmit forms. But basically it comes down to a lot of the paper physical forms not being correctly on why your child isn't medically cleared. One of the physical forms that you submit is basically clearing your child, but our physician has to look over the forms as well and make sure that there's no other documentation that's needed from a specialty doctor like an orthopedist or an ophthalmologist. So when you log out of your account, also, I do want you to know that there's family member info is here. If you want to change your account settings, sometimes people use an email address that they want to change. You can do so in this area here. But always write down and make sure that you understand what your username is, your email address. And we strongly recommend that you do not use your email address as your username. So with that being said, I'm going to log out and I am going to open up the Princeton the middle school athletics website again, because before we hit the Q&A, I also want to tell people about how to access the schedules. So before we go to the Q&A, when you go to the landing page, you'll see and at the top is home, schedules, team sites. You'll want to take a look at these team sites and you can see how your child can prepare for the fall tryout period. This is where your child will register for an impact test if they are 12 years or older or in the 7th grade and 12 years old. They'll click here. They will complete the online form, and our high school impact test coordinator, who also does middle schools, Carlos Salazar, he will be emailing the link and code to access the impact test remotely. And for those of you who don't know what the impact test is, it is a web-based application that assesses your child's cognitive ability for short and long-term memory. And that would allow your child's physician to know when your child has recovered from a concussion. So they use that as a test to see and see how the scores measure up post injury compared to where they were when they took the baseline. So if you want to know what kind of equipment your child needs for your sports, you can find a list of equipment here. And if you want to be notified and subscribe to receive text message notifications and email notifications, make sure you click on notify me. And that link can be clicked on right here, but it's also available in the schedules area, which I'm going to show everyone right now. If you do want to see what sports we offer, you'll click under activities, and you should have a list here of the activities there. Okay, we have to update that on the website. But usually we'll have underneath the team sites, we will list spring sports, and then we'll list fall sports here. But we do have to update this, so I'll make a note of that. But let's move to the schedules. And then in the schedules area, we'll see view schedules. And here you'll see all the schedules for the high school, middle school, and you'll also see rentals that are taking place at our high school, middle school, and even in our K-5 fields. So in this place, let's say we want to go to middle school, I think it was cross country. So we want to see the middle school cross country practices, and we'll be able to see when that starts. And I believe if you want to have access to the meets, there would be another listing here that, depending on the name of the actual event, it would say cross country MS meets. Miss Murray, do you know what the schedule was entered as for middle school for cross country? Maybe we didn't. Oh, here it is, cross country MS. So it's the cross country MS. It shows on our schedule like that. So if you want to get the meet schedule and you want to get the practice schedule, these are the two boxes that you'll have to check, and then you can hit view schedule, and then you'll have everything that you need to see here, and you can print that out and have a hard copy. You can change the way that you view it if you just want to see it in a different way. Also, you can subscribe to a calendar. So if you hit subscribe here, you'll be able to see and subscribe and pull it into your Android device or your Apple phone or your Outlook calendar, and that will sync as well. The best thing really, what I recommend is that you download the app. So you can download the app from by searching our school with the letter R, SCHOOL. And that will enable you to download and have the schedule on your smartphone at the top. Just tapping on your phone and swiping down to update it. And that the instructions for that, we will put that under important information like it is at the high school website. And we will update this tomorrow. So you'll be able to see all the team sites and all the teams that we offer during the winter, as well as the link to get the app. So let's move to our Q&A. Okay, so far, Ms. Murray, how are our questions? Looks like we have one.
There were three. I answered them. So
Okay.
one was if they wanted to do a club and a sport, could they do that? And really the answer is no, because sports meet every day and clubs meet twice a week at the same time. So if they were going to do a sport, they wouldn't really be able to go to the club because sports practice is required once they're on the team.
Yep. Okay, sports practice every day. Typically, the practices start immediately after school and they run for 90 minutes. There are no prerequisites to join a club, tennis club or intramural boys and girls basketball. There's no prerequisites. You just have to make sure that your child gets medically cleared and complete the paperwork. They cannot just show up for the clubs. There are no tryouts for the clubs. We do have tryouts for other sports that we have to limit numbers due to space restraints. Can you be in more than one club?
Sorry. Another question was if they want to switch teams halfway through the season. And so for boys soccer, they definitely can't switch because there's tryouts and cuts. But if they try cross country for a week and they realize all their friends are playing field hockey, then they probably could switch because field hockey doesn't make cuts.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be in the middle of the season. It would just be during the first
yeah,
week or so. Yeah.
right.
Question is, can you register now and upload the forms at a later date? We don't recommend you do that. You can register now. You can skip that section and go to the end and click submit. In the athletic registration, there is a feature where you can save your work and then enter it later. I don't know if you saw that button, but that is the feature that you'll want to use if you plan on uploading your forms at a later time. Because once you submit your athletic registration, everything is sealed and you can't go in there and change any of your responses. So you'd have to contact the nurse to access that data, and she can make the updates after she verifies it with the parent. Okay. And I was going to log back into the site because it's important that everyone knows where that feature is. And I wanted to show everyone. So let me just log in right here. And then I will. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen very quickly just to give everyone an idea. So here you'll see there's an incomplete registration. Can you see my screen, Ms. Murray?
No,
No? Let's try that again. Okay. Are you seeing the landing screen after my login?
yes,
Okay, so there's incomplete registration here. And that is where it'll be if you select save and finish later. And if you hit incomplete registration, you'll see that there was an incomplete registration here by the other student. And then you would just hit edit, and then you will resume where you left off, and you'll be able to move through the screens. So you do definitely want to use that feature if you want to start the process, save and finish later, but don't submit. You can go all the way to the end, but just don't submit. And then when you do get your physical forms, you can upload it. And you'll also have edit capabilities in case you want to change anything. How do we find out our child's student ID? I have been email blasting everyone the children's student IDs. You can call the main office and ask them for the student ID. You could also call the athletics office or email myself or Ms. Herzog or Ms. Murray will try and help you. But I will continue to do email blasts, and I will do another one tomorrow. And if you do not get that email blast, the one that I'm going to send out tomorrow, then you may want to check your spam folder. But if you're joining us this evening, that means that School Messenger is working and you are receiving those notifications. So you should definitely get those email blasts, and it includes the student ID in those emails. Do you fill out the forms for asthma, allergy, and seizure if your child doesn't have a history of those? No, you just omit those forms, and you do not need to print them out. Just move on and just print out the physical forms. How far into the fall are tryouts? Typically, tryouts list can last a minimum of 3 days, depending on the weather and possible cancellations due to heat or rain. But every child should get at least 3 full days to try out for our teams. Can I submit medical forms without registering for a sport to keep up to date? If you want to submit your medical forms now because your child just got a physical, you're more than welcome to register them, because once they're cleared for a fall sport, then you're in a good position later in the year to get them cleared. So by all means, you can register for a sport for the fall, and maybe they might want to try that sport. But yeah, it is better to get them medically cleared while we're all checking the forms now, where our doctor's geared up and you have the forms. Might as well just get them, registered for a fall club. And hopefully, statistically, students that when they first start school, especially if they're starting a new school and they get involved in athletics and they make new friends, it's a better place for them. They feel more connected and they achieve. So we strongly recommend that they get engaged in the fall season. Another question says, I tried to register today with the student ID provided, and it said ID is invalid. If you want to email me privately, we can look into that. We did some updates and had the developers working on fixing some things. But if you go now into the the link that I'm going to put in the chat, and I'm going to put the correct link up because there was a break in the link and it was actually taking you to the wrong site. So I'm going to send a link into the chat, which is the returning user law, which is the account to set up a new account link, which was not correct. So I'm going to see if I can answer this to everyone. This is the link for you to enter your child's student ID. That's the link for you to enter your child's student ID. And if you try that link now, that should work. But there wasn't a problem with the site earlier today. Sports are Monday through Friday. All sports practice Monday through Friday. They compete against other schools. Sometimes the clubs are based upon availability. So the tennis club can only practice, on certain specific days where there's court availability, and intramural basketball practices frequently, but there may be some days that they don't practice, such as Fridays, but they do have a required minimum that they have to meet. The 365 day that the health form is counted from the date we upload the form or the date the doctor did the physical check. It's the date of the physical examination. So if your child's physical examination expires before the first start date of that sport, then you are required to get a new physical form. If the start date of boys basketball is November 6th, and your child's physical exam expires on November 9th, then that physical can be used for the duration of that season, but your child will not be eligible to try out or be medically cleared for a spring sport unless you upload new physical forms. So it's a little different every year depending on the start dates, which fluctuates slightly. What is the deadline to submit registration? I believe that was posted on our landing page, and the deadline for middle school sports is Friday, September 9th. So Friday, September 9th is the posted deadline on the website that was selected this year for fall sports. If a student signs up for cross country and doesn't enjoy it after 2 weeks, can they drop out? Yes, they can. They can notify the coach, and they'll remove them from the roster, or they can try another sport, or they can move and have a change to a club. You just need to notify Miss Murray and Miss Herzog, and we can make sure that that gets taken care of. If your child had a physical done in January of 2022, then it would still be valid. That would be acceptable for the fall. And where do students play tennis? That's a good question. Ms. Murray, students play tennis at the community park courts?
Yes.
Yep, still at the community park courts. In some circumstances, if the Princeton High School tennis team is away for consecutive days, then the middle schoolers may come over and have some use the tennis courts at that location. But the club tends to be so large, they need to spread out and have more courts which are available at community park. What time does cross country practice go to? Is normally 4:45. All right. If anyone has any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Or you could email Ms. Erin Murray or email myself or Ms. Herzog, and we'll try and assist you. Ms. Kathleen Bahuniak will start medically clearing people on August 16th. So if you register your child now, please don't be discouraged if you log back into the athletic registration website and you see that your account is still pending. Ms. Bahuniak will be returning to the middle school on August 16th, and that's when she will start to sort through all the applications for fall sports. One last question was how long are practices for cross country? And the practices end for all sports at 4:45. So they start immediately after school, and they typically will end around 4:45 to 5 o'clock. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions. I'd like to personally thank Miss Murray for taking time out of her relaxing summer to join us. Thank you, Miss Murray. And as always, thank you, Ms. Herzog. You are the person that makes the magic happen. So thank you very much. Everyone, have a pleasant evening. And this video will be recorded and posted on our website if you'd like to watch it at a later time. Have a pleasant evening and enjoy your summer. Bye-bye.